Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning. Welcome to the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. My name is Syya.
And I'm Erin Gregor.
And I'm Mike Weiner.
Wait, you gotta be patient. I gotta build you up, Mike.
Sorry.
That's no problem. So we are your hosts for Afterglow, and we are also the co-founders of Innovation Media Enterprises. So we will help you with your brand and tell your story through podcasting. So today we welcome back someone that has been here before and knows it. So I might as well just make you another host as well. Mr. Mike Weiner. He is the Executive VP of Business Development at Bruce Clay. Mr. Mike, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
I need to start doing
I'm jealous of that whistle.
Yeah.
So like that. God, it's so effective. Anyway, go ahead.
Erin, your son does a very good whistle impression.
Yeah, he's not doing that anymore though. So my husband has that whistle, and he whistles for the kids, and they can be 5 miles away and they hear it, and but then everybody within those 5 miles also turns to look. So it is effective, but I'm also really annoying. But anyway, go ahead.
No, that's great. So this week we are recapping the guest from yesterday at Global Leaders Organization, the weekly speaker series, Business Acceleration 2.0, in partnership with LinkedIn, which is super exciting. Shep Hyken. So, Shep Hyken, I actually never heard of him before, and I should have known better. Erin, have you ever heard of the customer service industry?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay. That's sarcasm. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I've heard of it, but I've not heard of it. I guess I should say, you think there would be an industry around to make sure that there is such a thing, for customer service. For the lack of good customer service, and I think you and I have been to enough restaurants together where we're like, wow, this place sucks. The food is good, but the service is beyond reprehensible. It's amazing to me that it seems like it would be common sense, but yet it's not. So is common sense, or is customer service common sense? Erin, I guess no.
Well, I think I think there's a common sense of, okay, how do I, respond to my customers, or what's that customer journey? I think there's things that just happen whether you intend to or not. I think what is really important is the intentionality of that. So what do you want the customer journey to be? What is important to you? And he talked a lot about this, and I think this is super huge because you probably do have competitors. It's just a natural state. So what is it about you that sets you apart? And I think that comes in customer service. And again, it's all about intention. I think it happens, but whether you're really making sure you're putting your best foot forward and making sure you understand what the customer journey is and what you want it to look like, it can fall flat very easily. And like he mentioned, you just become a commodity.
And that's painful. Mike, you know this all too well, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's so cliche and it's so obvious, customer service, people don't pay attention to it because it's so the water we drink. I know for our company, we're a search engine marketing company. It's very analytical, very, scientific. And we get in the weeds, we're doing our work, and everybody's forgotten, what is this like for the customer? So it's very easy, especially when companies get very big and there's layers and layers of employees. I think the biggest companies have the hardest time at paying attention to customer service. There's so much process in place. A lot of obstacles are in the way in that.
Right. It's not intuitive. I guess for me, maybe because the examples that he kept using, and maybe I just got lucky. I worked at the Disney company for 6.5 years. So a lot of those steps that he was talking about was kind of ingrained into the Disney culture. And he had mentioned how important customer service needs to be part of culture. It's not a department. I love that. I love that saying, because how often do you think customer service is just the people that on the end of the phone call, in a conference or in a call center.
Yeah, in Disney, you picked the poster child for model, high-level customer service is Disney. That's what they're known for. That's what's so amazing about them. I guarantee you, a search engine marketing firm or, AT&T, it's not we're known for our customer service.
No. Yeah.
Well, and I think what's so important about Disney is there is not a detail, like the most minute detail that's left up for chance. Like everything is thought out, everything is planned, every tiny piece is thought through about that customer experience. And sometimes that can really feel exhausting to put that in place. But anything well planned comes out seamless, right? And that's what makes them, that is why they're the poster child, because there isn't even the tiniest that's like, well, let's just see what the person thinks. There's a playbook for everything.
Right. So it's no accident is basically what you're saying. So let's talk about this then. So when he talked about that type of experience, he said two words that really hit me, which was consistency and predictability. If you are better than above average, just be 10% better than the average, you will rise from, and he had these 3 M's of moments: misery, mediocrity, and magic. Do you really think, you guys, if you're just 10% better, you'll stand out more?
I think if you're making that effort, you'll stand out more, because like we talked about, most of this is there's customer service, but are you thinking through it? Are you being intentional about what you're doing? So it's that whole thing of exponential growth too. I think if you're focusing on being 10% better and continually focusing on being 10% better, you hit that 10%. Okay, what next? What next? What next? It's not like you're like, let's just do 3 things more and we're good, right? It's that constant focus on being better. And I think gradually you just become much higher than 10%, but you've got to be making that effort.
That's really great, Erin. It's coming from the space of what can add to the customer service experience. It's not going to stop at 10%. Just think, first of all, it's a sad state of the business community to say 10% has you stand out. But I think, Erin, what you just said is the whole is 90% of it. The focus on what can I do today to contribute to customer experience, and that's the context of your day. That's a very big difference.
Absolutely. So, Sherry, CRC over on the Facebook side, good morning, and Dan LeBron, thanks for joining. But Sherry, we work with her at Map Esports, and just a shout out for us, and we're going to plug it. In partnership with Innovation Media Enterprises and Map Esports, we've launched the Esports Future Ride Podcast Network, and Sherry is part of the team to really ensure that there's strong communication between the talent that we work with, as well as the internal communication. So, talk about customer service. It so much of it is critical in communication. And that was one thing that Shep had mentioned about those 5 phases of the cult in the customer book, if you will. Did you guys take notes on this one? When you're talking about building a relationship, you're not really quite sure about each other. So there's that period of uncertainty where you're trying to figure each other out. Then there's alignment, once you kind of understand what they're all about. And then experience. You're actually experiencing the service that they're delivering for you. Ownership means it's the experience that you've given them. They can predict it. And then once they understand that ownership, the result is amazement, where they're going to be raving loyal fans, and they're going to keep coming back for you and to your service. Do you think that cult of the customer playbook, do you think that's an accurate path that we take our customer experience through?
It was really interesting. I saw the topic for today, and I've seen him. He's a famous speaker. He's been around a while, Jesse and Vince know all these top level speakers. I hadn't seen him in, 20 years. And I was like, customer service what can I learn about customer service? Oh my God. His breaking it down forensically gave you things that you can actually touch and feel and plan on, as opposed to customer service. What do I do about that? So I really enjoyed a lot of the things that he had to say, and I was woken up to things I probably wasn't paying attention to.
Like what?
Well, remember he said he was talking to his editor, and the editor said nobody's written a book about that. Do you remember what that was? Was that on customer service?
Ooh.
I don't remember, but anyways, one example, the more we talk about it, I'll be present to it, because I need to see the specific items, but broadly, most of the things that he brought up was something that I was hearing newly.
I remember you mentioned that. Yeah.
Well, and to your first question, it becomes, how do you create raving fans? I think that is like the most important thing in the world. How do you, like he said, fine is the F word of customer service, right? Like you don't want them to be like, they're good. You want them to think about the experience. And when they say to somebody, hey, that's cool, they're like, yeah, they're decent. You want them to be like, oh my God, you got to use them. They're amazing. And so it becomes, how do I create that amazing experience? But to your point, Mike, I was wowed by him. But I think it was like his first 5 minutes when he talked about how his parents, when he had the magic show or whatever, and his parents made him call people, like those simple steps as a 12-year-old. I was like, oh my God, like so simple, yet, hey, how was it? Did you like it? What can I do? How can I improve? Who do you know? Those, I was like, sometimes it's just what is a person I always follow always says, common sense doesn't mean common practice, right? And it's just even that reminder. I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to be doing that more, and just little things like that stand out. How can I? Hey, I think we have a great relationship. How can I better? How can I make this relationship better? What can I do to improve this experience? All of these little things, even those questions, stand out to people. They're feeling heard. They, if you can implement something, that is your constant 10% right there. And that wows a customer. Wow, they're thinking of me. They're trying to make better. It doesn't have to be huge things. It can be very small, but can make huge differences.
By the way, I can totally see him being a magician. Can't you?
Well, I think magicianship is a form of sleight of hand and what do you call it? Distracting someone away from what you're actually doing. So I don't know. There's a little deception there, I think, with magicianship versus customer service. But what
I meant by that is the theater of connecting with the audience. Watch now. Is this not the sleight of hand, but he's very engaging. I found him very engaging with the audience. And an example you asked me a minute ago, Syya, an example of what I was referring to was just a simple question, just simply recreating what somebody's complaining about. Just saying it back to them that you heard. How simple is that? And it reminded me of some other training that I did, that oftentimes just saying back to somebody what they're complaining about, their complaint disappears because they feel heard. And that's like, as human nature, that's kind of what we're after when we're complaining, is just, can somebody please hear what I'm saying? Can somebody get what I'm going through?
Which is a perfect.
I was going to say 100%. I mean, people just want to be heard. That's all they want. You know what I mean? So many times if I've had an issue, I remember one time I had a property management, just huge issue. And it's not about what pisses me off. It's not that the mistake that makes me mad. It's the yeah feeling of it. And I said, I had a really good relationship with the owners of this franchise. And I'm like, I just need you to tell me right now that this is not acceptable. That's what I need to hear, that this is what is happening right now is not acceptable and it's wrong. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, okay, now let's fix it. But it was just that meaning of, I need you to acknowledge you hear me right now and that this is going to get fixed. I'm okay with that. Like, I know accidents happen and I know things happen, but just being like, no big deal. Yeah. That's when I get really angry. It's like, no, it's not acceptable. So it doesn't have to be, bless you, Mike, I see you sneezing.
Excuse me, when I'm mute.
But like you said, it's just about being heard, and that hearing can just make a world of difference, and acknowledging it and saying this is not acceptable and saying we're going to change it can fix so much.
So let's talk about that then, the being heard part of it. So Michelle, the CEO of Global Leaders Organization, had asked that question specifically in the context of us being, business leaders and entrepreneurs. Was that experience how hard is it to get to our website, to make us feel welcome, and it got me thinking, right? How do you reduce the friction? That was a term. How do you reduce friction to engage or be engaged or get found? One thing that bounced in my head when I was thinking about that was, how do you guys feel about when you're networking and you're getting to know someone and you reach out and say, hey, let's schedule time to talk to each other. Go to this link and look at my Calendly, for example, and pick a time and let's talk. Do you feel that's a positive or a negative or neutral engagement from a customer service perspective?
Well, any less back and forth that I can have is amazing to me. And if that's what they want, I don't feel that's impersonal at all. It's I got a back and forth going right now with somebody, and it's like, oh, Jesus, like, it's so annoying. So I think just the reduction to that point of friction is huge. Like, it's just straightforward. We can schedule a meeting, let's do it, versus, well, I don't have that. Oh, I can't do that. I can do this. Oh, you can't do that. And then like 10 emails go by and you finally set up a meeting.
Yeah, our view is that's the ultimate customer experience. You get to choose when we meet. Now, my experience is a lot of people, for some reason, don't use the tool. A lot of people resist using the tool. So and I find those people are easy to schedule with, but our view is the calendar scheduling tool is a huge convenience. So I guess people have the choice to do what is the best fit for them, and that's probably all you can provide.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'll take the contrary opinion. I feel like when someone wants to make a connection with me, and when you say, okay, great, let's talk, they say, okay, wonderful, here's a link, and pick a time to talk to me. I do feel like, though it's convenient, I do feel it's impersonal. I think there's something about that kind of makes me feel like, oh yeah, accommodate my calendar and look at it. Where I like your perspective, which is you get to choose based on my calendar, like what time you want. So I kind of see it both ways. It does feel a little impersonal, but I'm also, I guess maybe I'm older school.
But do you feel like it's impersonal? Like, I just had somebody pop me to their assistant. Like, do you feel that's impersonal? If they say, if you're talking to somebody and they're like, okay, here's my assistant, she'll schedule something. I kind of look at it the same way, or he will. I was kind of stereotyped there, but they will schedule something. But do you feel that's impersonal?
No, I don't in that context, because maybe I'm conditioned to know that people will have administrators, right, to support them, back them up. I don't know why. I guess I think it's that, again, that frictionless where you automate it, where you're allowing technology to basically make that process faster. Again, I think it's that embracing of, are you going to embrace that technology? Maybe.
Yeah. And to this point of technology, so there's a company I came across through LinkedIn. They do something that could be really interesting for innovation media. So I was on their website. There's a little chat bot that came up, and it was like, hey, if you're interested in talking to someone, and I thought, oh, I'll put in my email. They're going to email me and it's going to be a process. I had that meeting scheduled in literally 2 seconds. Like, it was amazing. So it was like, oh, you want to meet with us? Okay, grab a time. And it was so convenient. And I'm going to be honest with you, had it been going to my email, had it been back and forth, I'm going to put a 50-50 bet that meeting never would have gotten set, because I would have forgot, I would have done something, and it would have just not been top priority for me. But because it happened right when I wanted it and needed it and thought of it, that automation made that meeting happen.
So
yeah, and I was just going to say, like most technology, not everybody has the same experience, you know, so that's why options are important. And Syya, I've experienced what you were talking about. It's maybe looking a little impersonal. I try, when I remember, to set the table with it. You know, through our conversations that were just prior to me sending the calendar, I'd say, okay, so great having our conversations. I'm going to send you my calendar link for your convenience, so it sounds that way. But if I forget to do that, it can be impersonal.
Well, according to Shep, he's all about advocating, you know, using self-service, leveraging technology, you know, as long as they're accessible, whatever it might be, whether it's geographically speaking or not, or just digitally. He says those are the conveniences that people are looking for. So yeah, I mean, when he said that, the calendar invite was one of those things that triggered me a little bit, that I was like, I'm not so sure about it. So let's shift over to creating that customer culture, guys. So, you know, members of Global Leaders Organization, GLO, it's anywhere ranging from, you know, less than 10 employees all the way up, right, to, you know, significantly larger. And he was really emphasizing on creating a customer culture within the organization as well as external facing. So let's talk about that, if you guys don't mind, because I think as we grow in our businesses, we're so used to all of us putting multiple hats and heads on that as we start bringing employees on, you kind of forget your values, as far as you think everyone has the same value system and you're maybe not articulating it as well. So first and foremost, he said, define your customer culture. And he said, make it one sentence or less. Number two, he said, communicate it across your staff. And then number three, he says, train to it. And I really like this one because he says everyone from the back of the house to the front gets the same training, so they march to the same tune. Number four was be a leader in that role model. The example he gave was Disney, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Number five was defend the culture. And number six, celebrate that culture. To me, this resonated, the whole Disney story, over and over again. Where do you guys see in your own organizations, Erin, what do you see at Innovation Media and Mike at Bruce Clay on creating customer culture? Do you think we're doing it in our own companies?
I think it's a work in progress. Interestingly enough, I'm probably the voice. I was a customer of Bruce Clay. That's how I met them. And because of that, I'm the voice of the customer experience at our company. So I'm paying more attention to it. You know, a lot of these data analysts are nerds, like Leonard, you know, that you were talking about. So it's good to have a diverse, you know, skills in leadership. So different people bring different things. And I pay a lot of attention to customer experience because that's where I came from at my company.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think ours is a work in progress. Just continually working on expectations, process, and really just getting it down from a seamless perspective.
Right. I mean, so Daniel was talking, and I think this makes sense for us, Erin, because, you know, we are early on in our business and we're growing, which is great. And there's process that needs to be put in place, which is so hard because, again, we're so used to doing things on our own. That's like, no, we have to start defining that, and which I know is your strength, and you've been very good and awesome about it. Dan LeBrod just mentioned on Facebook here, he goes, when he was a one-man shop all the way through now with several employees, their service model has always been 7 days a week, anytime, anything you need, for both their clients and their employees. It's part of their culture that they hire, or when they bring on contractors, to make sure they understand that everyone's available to one another And he says because of that level of service, it has helped catapult the business and beat their competitors. Now, Dan, I like that idea, but man alive, don't you think your people should have a rest 7 days a week? I mean, so I get the vibe, but I mean, if I'm a client and I know that I can call them at midnight, maybe that is that value that you're taking that friction away.
And Syya is calling at midnight, so be careful there.
But it would be a fun conversation, though, no?
I think it's so competitive out there that, 24/7 is just another competitive advantage. If you can get away with it without killing your employees, it sounds like whatever he's put together, he is building it with people that like that kind of contribution to their company, and maybe because it's in the early stages of growth, but I'd be a customer of theirs if I knew they were always available versus another company that's closed.
Yeah, and I think what's important is I did the 24/7 thing too for a while on a company I had, and we'll just say I'm not married, but I'm not anymore. But I mean, whatever, like if you have people in there to run that, and I'm not going to say yes or no, I think what's important is that Daniel has his definition down. And I think a lot of people, when they go to what stands out, they get into a price war. And that's all, I'm going to be the lowest price. And you just kill yourself for that. Kill your company. You kill yourself for that. But I think it's any company, when I say what makes you stand out, you should know. And a lot of companies don't. Like, it's just, because we're awesome. Well, what does that mean? So I think what's important is Daniel has that definition, that he understands his competitors and he knows what he does differently and better than anyone else. And whatever that is, I think should be very defined and very apparent.
A really good point.
That is a great point. So there was one last comment that he made, and I'm going to bunch it up or screw it up a little bit because I was trying to type as quickly as I could. But he was talking about loyalty is not a lifetime of customers focus. It's if you're looking to build loyalty, it's not that you have just a lifetime of customers. It's that the customers are always looking at the next time experience, and that's what turns them into the lifetime customer. I really liked that because it's not just a current experience, it's how do you leave them feeling, because they're going to look forward to that same feeling the next time around. And that just struck me as a great definition for loyalty.
Yeah,
so,
again, I mean, intentional. It's not a matter of, okay, we're just going to hang up the phone. It's, there's a person I follow, the same person I talked about, common sense, common practice, but he just talks about even like before you walk into the house, like you come home from work and you sit in your car, are you making an intention of how you walk into your home? Like, are you thinking about that? Are you, and it's the same type of thing. When I have a conversation with a customer, am I just picking up the phone and talking and hanging up and it is what it is? Or every time, this is the intention, this is how I want them to feel, this is how I want the conversation to go. And that's something that's teachable. Like, hey, this is how our conversations go. You in or you out, right? That starts setting that culture, but it's just about being intentional. And it's easier said than done. I'll say that.
Oh, we all know that all too well. Egbert actually just contributed real quick here. And I loved it. What he was saying is the platinum rule, which says treat others the way you want to be treated. And also, understanding of what the customer wants. And it also might not necessarily match up with what you want, right? And that goes back to what we said in the very beginning, which is listening, right? And, understanding, what this relationship between a client and, our business is. So on that note, we're running out of time. As always, Mike, love having a conversation with you. For those that want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Really easy, bruceclay.com. Anybody who wants to expand their web presence, has something important on their website they want more of the world to know about and get more traffic there, that's what we can help you with.
Excellent. And Erin, spiel for GLO?
Yeah, so this is another conversation of a presentation every Thursday morning we have with GLO.com. So things have changed up a bit. You can see these sessions live through social media, even if you're not a member. But what's special about being a premium member is that you get to come behind the scenes with these speakers. So after they're done, you can come and ask all sorts of questions. We get a kind of a one-on-one time with the speakers. So head over to withglo.com and join your local chapter. Hopefully, if you're in the Dallas area, you join Syya and myself.
Excellent. Thank you, Erin. Next week, we are thrilled to welcome Amir Kassar for the Business Acceleration 2.0 series, again, in partnership with LinkedIn. And he's going to be talking about clarity in time of indecision. So looking at the data, if you will, and looking at the specific investment of time and money as you're making your decisions in your business. So with any questions, like Erin said, hit up withglo.com. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. Everyone, have a safe and wonderful weekend. We'll see ya next week.